Fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, joints that ache for no reason, brain fog that rolls in like the weather, mood swings that feel chemical, not emotional. These are not random symptoms of getting older. These are your body's inflammation system, and it's trying to get your attention. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. Inflammation is one of the words we constantly hear in the wellness space, especially in sort of the modern era. And it's often attached to a product or a protocol that someone is trying to sell us. But before we talk about what to do about inflammation, I want to make sure that you actually understand what it is, because chronic inflammation is one of the most significant and most underappreciated drivers of how midlife women feel day to day. And here's the important thing. Inflammation is not the enemy. Inflammation is a beautiful thing, just like stress is a beautiful thing. Stress helps us to engage and to pursue hard things and to put in effort. And inflammation helps to battle things that our body is contending with. We want that system to be available. We just don't want it to be turned on all the time. So inflammation is a signal, and like all signals, the question is not how to silence it. It is really to start questioning what it's telling you. So you can think of your immune system as like a fire department. Acute inflammation is the crew showing up to put out an actual fire, right? So you twist your ankle and you get inflammation in the ankle, so nutrients and blood supply can all rush to the site to help you heal. So acute inflammation is an injury, an infection, a genuine threat that is short-lived. They come in fast, they do the job, and they leave. That is healthy and necessary. Kind of like a fire department, right? A house is on fire, the fire department shows up, they put out the fire, and they leave. But chronic inflammation is what happens when the alarm never turns off. So the trucks are constantly running. The crew is always on, never getting a break. The sirens are always running, even when there's no fire. So over time, that constant activation, it damages the very infrastructure that it is meant to protect. So in your body, that constant low-grade alarm is driven by things like chronically elevated cortisol because you're living in a state of consistent stress. It's driven by poor sleep, by ultra-processed foods, by negative self-narrative, by blood sugar dysregulation, and of course, the hormonal shifts of perimenopause and menopause, all of which can push the immune system into a state of persistent low-grade elevation. And I want to just make a side note on that last point I mentioned about perimenopause and menopause. When estrogen and progesterone decline, one of the byproducts of that is we become more pro-inflammatory. So it is easier for us to get inflamed, which is why at midlife, so many of us are feeling things we didn't used to feel. We feel puffier, we feel more bloated with a little bit of, offensive food. We feel like our joints hurt in ways that they didn't used to. So there is a hormonal connection to that response. So what are the signals that are worth paying attention to? Well, persistent fatigue that's not explained by activity level or maybe lack of sleep, right? Like you're getting sleep, you feel like you're being active, but not too active, and yet you always feel exhausted. Joint stiffness or achiness or even pain, especially in the mornings. Digestive discomfort or breaking out, like in your skin in new ways. I notice this a lot in perimenopause. One of my biggest complaints about perimenopause is I feel like I'm just consistently breaking out in the second half of my cycle in ways that I haven't since I was like a teenager. So that's fun. Other signs of inflammation are things like mood instability or general flatness that really feel chemical, right? It feels like there's no real reason for you to be feeling this way. Brain fog, definitely. That cotton wool feeling where thinking takes way more effort than it should. None of these symptoms are normal. Common, yes, but not normal. And there's a significant difference between those two words, common and normal, right? The levers that most reliably reduce chronic inflammation in midlife are, of course, what we're always talking about on this show, which are the basics. Getting consistent sleep, right? Because that's when your body does most of its cellular repair. An anti-inflammatory eating pattern can go a long way in helping to help you to feel less inflamed. Adequate protein, omega-3 fatty acids are known to be anti-inflammatory. Eating enough fiber, managing your stress. That is a theme that will never go away on this show because cortisol is one of the most potent inflammation drivers that we have. And movement, specifically a mix of strength and low-intensity activity, not chronic high-intensity exercise. This is a pit I see a lot of midlife women falling into where they have pushed so hard most of their life in the exercise realm. And now that they're trying to continue to push that hard in midlife, their body is speaking up in really loud ways. Chronically intense exercise can actually increase inflammatory markers when the body is not recovering adequately. So your recovery becomes more important than ever. If you have a day of intense exercise, it's really important that you honor your body's need for repair by giving yourself extra downtime. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. Your symptoms are not random. They are not inevitable. They are not a personal failing. They are a form of communication. So if you are feeling inflamed, start by asking yourself honestly, how is my sleep? How is my stress level? What is the quality of my diet right now? Am I recovering adequately after my exercise sessions? Those basic questions will point you towards the most powerful inflammation levers that you have. So your body's not breaking down, it's speaking up. And the question really is, are you ready to start listening? If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.